Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where yesterday Mark Ruffalo made some headlines for supposedly ruining Avengers Infinity War by revealing who dies. And if you're freaking out right now, being like, Grace, you're not going to ruin it, are you? Well, Mark Ruffalo didn't ruin anything. He just, if you're super sensitive about this, you can skip ahead to the next story. But I think this is pretty interesting, particularly because of the conclusion that I've come to about what was really going on here. But I respect it if you're just like, I don't want any part of this. Okay, still here? Well, Mark Ruffalo was talking and he was being goaded by the off-camera reporter for Good Morning America, a crucial part of the story, into giving away spoilers. And he eventually said, and he was being interviewed, by the way, with Don Cheadle. They were doing a co-interview. So they were paired up is the industry term. So anyway, Mark Ruffalo says, wait until you see Infinity War, everybody dies. And Don Cheadle next to him really is the one who made it worse by totally freaking out and saying stuff like, you shouldn't have said that, it's your career, man. And then Mark Ruffalo, kind of freaked out. So anyway, my initial thing was, well, if everybody does die, you can't keep that a secret. Or if a number of characters die, it'll come out pretty early, as soon as anyone sees the movie. And also, you still don't know who it's going to be, and maybe literally everyone dies, and like they go up against Hela and Hell, etc. But the more I thought about it, because during the interview, Don Cheadle was like, "You'll just cut that out, right?" He says that to the off-camera person, and I was like, "Well, this is Good Morning America, which is on ABC, which is of course owned by Disney. So if it was truly bad, if it was truly a leak, while another outlet might be motivated to put it up anyway for the traffic." The views, Good Morning America, Marvel can go through Disney to control what Good Morning America airs. So Mark Ruffalo, if he genuinely was concerned, could go to Kevin Feige or anybody and say, I messed up. And then Kevin Feige could demand that it be pulled. And of course, Disney doesn't want to ruin their own movie, so it would have been. So I think this was staged. And my reaction to that is Don Cheadle and Mark Ruffalo are very good actors, and they're very good improvisers. It's very well done. It's very convincing. But I think it's totally fake. And I think this is something they're trying to set up for Infinity War with it's so amazing and there's so much amazing stuff that happens in it. How are we going to possibly keep it a secret? For instance, there's a narrative that's also been developing that Tom Holland can't keep a secret. And he was paired up with Benny C, aka Benedict Cumberbatch, for his interviews from D23, also on Good Morning America. And Benedict Cumberbatch interrupts him and is like, oh, don't give it away. Let me cover for you. And I think this is just something either that was directed by Marvel or the actors just came up with on their own to play with. They get pretty punchy on the Marvel junkets and press tours, as you might recall, because I guess they're asked to do so much and they're asked so many questions that they can't answer. So bravo, Don Cheadle and Mark Ruffalo. I think you really sold it. And Don Cheadle in particular is a pretty darn good actor. So that's my thoughts on it. And so Infinity War is still preserved as a secret. All right, so the second story of the day is about Dev Patel and an amazing gig that he has landed. Now, I don't think Dev Patel is a good choice for Aladdin. We talked about ethnicity, regionality, and who should be cast in Aladdin. And I think Mina Massoud was a great choice, as we recently discussed. But I know a number of you were pulling for Dev Patel. Disney did consider him. And so when they did announce who was cast as Aladdin over the weekend at D23, you had to feel a little bit bad for Dev Patel, who's been working in the industry for so long, starting out in TV in the UK, Slumdog Millionaire, unfortunately, Last Airbender. I thought he was pretty good in it, though, and just hasn't been able to really build himself a big career, I think largely because of the lack of roles that are available to him because of his ethnicity. Now, luckily, he just did Lion, and while that wasn't a huge hit and it wasn't a huge awards winner, it did get him his first Oscar nomination. And it's all about playing the long game, particularly when you're in an entrepreneurial type career, right? I mean, it often seems like you're an overnight success, but the reality is that it takes a long time, and you just have to be smart about it, have faith, and be in the right place at the right time. And Dev Patel, I think that Oscar nomination put him in the perfect position to get the role of a lifetime. This is so amazing. Lucky for Dev Patel, the founder of Chippendales is from India. It was Bombay immigrant Steve Banerjee who bought an old derelict nightclub and decided to turn it into a steamy strip show for women, something that was a very new idea at the time, something to celebrate women's sexuality. I'm sure that Channing Tatum is like, damn it. And he, of course, also paved the way for this with the success of Magic Mike, and to some degree Magic Mike 2, and the fact they're doing a live Magic Mike show now in Vegas. So, you know, I think Chippendales becomes a little bit of an easier sell. And even better, the story of Chippendales involves multiple murders. This is a juicy story. So Dev Patel is going to star as the founder of Chippendales. And then Ben Stiller so far signed on to co-star. Get this is such a Ben Stiller role. As a former children's show producer who ended up recruiting the dancers for Chippendales and choreographed the numbers. Oh, this is amazing. I don't want to give too much away. A lot of it's online, but I think, you know, you want to be surprised. It's such a crazy story. But it's written by a new screenwriter named Isaac Adamson, who has another project that's moving forward. He wrote the Bubbles script, Michael Jackson's Chimpanzee, which Taika Waititi is directing, which will involve motion, stop motion animation. So I think that's just absolutely fabulous, and I'm so happy for Dev Patel. You know, he's held on. The industry's changing, and luckily they found this story, and and they didn't whitewash it, which is very exciting. I mean, with today's media, you would say you can't do it, but yet Hollywood still sometimes finds a way. But I'm very happy for Dev Patel, and I hope this works out. They haven't signed a director yet. That's going to be crucial, but this is very encouraging. Then, speaking of encouraging, I'm so happy to see the headline. It's bittersweet, obviously, but Sarah Jones, of course, the assistant camera person who was killed, again, tragically on the set of a small independent film, Midnight Rider. Her, of course, the producer-director ended up going to jail, but her family went to civil court and sued and was just awarded $11 million in damages. I think that's just so amazing, because I think that, this has been, the safety of people making movies has been an issue for since almost the beginning of cinema, and it never goes away. Like, there's always and they talked about this a lot when Sarah Jones was first killed, about how, something horrible happens, the industry goes, oh, we have to change things. And then they don't. I mean, we just saw that Walking Dead stunt person tragically was, killed doing a stunt. Someone on, American Made, the Tom Cruise movie about drug running. Somebody died making that film. Nobody should die making a movie. It's certainly not as many, accidents and tragedy happens, but I think that movies know people are desperate. They hold out that brass ring in front of people, and I think they, and that was a big problem with the Sarah Jones situation, that they were not shooting under safe conditions. They were trying to steal a shot on railroad tracks, and she ended up being killed. So on that note, by the way, $4 million, a little under $4 million, is the railroad itself is culpable for, and they just had to pay out. And you might think, well, why is it the railroad's fault? They shouldn't have been on the tracks. But one of the things was, it was revealed that 2 trains previously passed the crew getting ready to go on the tracks, or lingering, where they shouldn't be, and did not report it, even though it was company policy to do so. So that makes them culpable. And that's the thing, that's why it's so important to be a litigious society. I know sometimes people bemoan it, but money talks. Money talks in getting movies made. Money talks in making sure people do what they're supposed to. And, jail time, obviously, of course, is a big motivator, but jail time is rarely involved when it comes to companies and crimes that aren't associated with an individual, right? So when you can say, hey, I'm going to really slap you on the wrist financially, big time, and in some cases more than a slap on the wrist, that sadly is often what needs to be done to really institute change. So now that a precedent has been set about financial culpability, perhaps other producers and studios going forward will be a little bit more careful, because they're like, we can't just shrug our shoulders and say, stuff happens on a movie set. This is a difficult stunt or situation, and people knew, make them sign a waiver. You could have a situation here where you're not only, jail time for maybe one individual, but the whole company would be on the line for millions of dollars. So I'm glad that Sarah Jones's family, that will truly be the legacy, I think, of this situation, that they might have instigated real change. Also, they didn't settle out of court. Sometimes I think a lot of times what happens is that a company will run in, and to make the thing go away, they'll maybe give a lot of money. But often they don't, particularly for crew positions, which is quite tragic. But anyway, those are the 3 stories of the day. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on them. And then as for the viewer question, another tragedy, sad day in movie news. A number of you have been asking me for my thoughts on Zack Snyder removing all the Justice League imagery from his Twitter account, both the banner and his avatar. I think it's quite sad. You know, he obviously left the film under very tragic circumstances, the suicide of his daughter. Joss Whedon stepped in to complete, Joss Whedon was helping with the reshoots and some rewrites, but Joss Whedon totally took over, although it was sold as, Joss Whedon was completing Zack Snyder's film. And for Zack Snyder to remove everything prior to the Comic-Con panel for Warner Brothers on Saturday, which will present a number of, Justice League, maybe even we're hoping a new trailer, it really seems to me like maybe Zack Snyder has seen it and has just decided that it's so far from what he started with that it's not his film anymore. And that's really, I don't know what happened. I think this is something that's going to be a problem for the film, Justice League. Because Zack Snyder, there are a lot of people who are loyal to him. I think that he did a good job with Batman v Superman as a moviegoer, but from a business perspective, it was a problem. But I still have a lot of respect for what he tried to accomplish, and I don't think that anybody should have things go down like this. And if he was pulled from the film, I think that it would be horrible to use his family tragedy as cover. I mean, so I don't really quite know what to believe. I think the situation, I would hope that Joss Whedon would be more careful, but I think Joss Whedon has a little bit of a history of being fast and loose and maybe feeling, hey, if the film's good, no one will care. But I think you just don't want that stain on the film, to do Zack Snyder like that. And I don't know why he would remove everything from it. That's the only reason that I can think of. One might think, oh, hey, he doesn't want to, get in the film's way and he's not going to be at the panel, but that doesn't make any sense. He should still be supporting it, right? The only thing I can think of is that he just feels it's not his movie anymore and he just can't make a creative claim to it. And that would be, I think, I could understand it in some ways, but what really bothers me about it was that it was sold as, oh no, we love Zack Snyder, something horrible happened to him, which did happen, so we're going to finish this movie for him, and honor his vision and, support him. So it was a story of support. So it's scary and sad to me to think that that was not true. So we'll see. We'll see how the Justice League stuff looks, but this is really unfortunate. And I don't know why he would choose to distance himself from it. You'd think he would just continue to support it. But I'm curious to what you think. How would you feel if that was the case? What are your feelings about Justice League and this change of directors? Because it's not just a business thing with like Phil Lord and Chris Miller, right? This has a very difficult family tragedy woven into it. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, on the 3 stories of the day, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, and of course any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.